And then. Wait. Oh, yes.
I don't see the new.
What's your name?
Oh, Michael.
Yeah. One minute. So for the panel, are you on right now? Oh, no. I was gonna promote you, but it was you in there, so great. Okay. The captions are on, I put them on.
Sure.
And it's about 30 again.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is Wednesday, May 15th, and this is the Palm Springs Airport Commission meeting. Before we start, we'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Craig, would you like to lead today? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, welcome, Tanya.
Thank you.
Away we go. As the agenda been posted,
Yes, the agenda has been posted.
we have a roll call, please.
Yes. Banks is excused. Banks intends on observing via Zoom. Berryman,
Present.
Burke, Caldwell,
Present.
Corcoran,
Here.
Dada is excused. Delgado. Here. Feltman is excused. Fong,
Present.
Hughes. Present. Martin. Martin was attending on Zoom. I'm not sure if he will be attending later. Michaelis.
Here.
Park. Here. Pye is excused. Pye intends to be observing via Zoom. Suero. Wise.
Here.
Wiseman. And Young is excused. We have a quorum.
Question. Do any changes need to be made to the agenda? We're going to have a motion, please accept the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Sorry. Tanya, will you take the roll call, please?
Roll call, Berryman,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Delgado. Yes. Fong,
Aye.
Hughes. Yes. Martin. Michaelis,
Yes.
Park. Yes. Suero, confirming. Wise,
Yes.
Wiseman. Thank you.
Okay, before we go to public comments, just want to make a suggestion. Three of your commissioners are joining by Zoom because they didn't make the deadline to post their addresses so they could participate by Zoom. They're not able to participate. So I'm wondering, it's just a process check, that before the agenda goes out, why don't we send a note to all commissioners so that you have some more lead time to get your addresses in if you're going to be joining on Zoom. We do that?
Thank you.
So how, especially those of you who are not here about it. Okay. We welcome our guests on Zoom, and also our guests here today. Are there any public comments? Any scheduled speakers?
We do not have any scheduled speakers. Are there any public comments via Zoom? Please raise your virtual Zoom hand.
Not seeing anything else,
No.
then we'll move on. All right. We're going to approve the minutes from our December 20th meeting. I'm gonna need, do we need to take our roll call to approve the minutes, or I need to have a motion?
This one is
You'll do a motion first, then. Thank you. Have a motion to solve it.
second.
Second. Okay, time to roll call, please.
Berryman,
Yeah.
Burke,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Delgado, Baum, Hughes. Yes. Martin on Zoom. Martin, Michaelis,
Yes.
Park,
Yes.
Wise.
Yes.
We are good.
The minutes are approved. Let's jump into the meeting. There was a point we were going to juggle some of the orders of the agenda. We're going to stick with the original order as published. So we're going to start with the baggage claim expansion. And Jeremy, are you meeting with us? Yeah.
Oh. They're not coming up.
Oh. Just make it up, Kevin, why?
I don't know why it's not showing. 1 second.
Just give us a second.
Nobody's coming up. Nobody's coming up. Okay, there we are. Yes, yeah, okay.
There you go.
And promoted. You're promoted, and let me promote Jeremy. Okay, you're good to go, Jeremy. Thank you. Okay. You're promoted.
Hey, Jeremy. Hey, hello, everybody. Did you want me to start with the bag claim expansion, or do you have that on your screen?
Yeah, can you see that, Andy?
Yeah, perfect.
And for everybody on the call in the room, Andy is with Gensler, so he's going to be here to answer any questions for this item and the next item. But what we had brought to the Operations and Facilities Committee a couple of weeks ago was we wanted to get a good consensus from the commission on essentially narrowing down which concept we wanted to proceed with the baggage claim. And there's really kind of two concepts here. One is the smaller original option that we had applied through the FAA environmental, and then kind of since we've kind of dug into the design, we've really kind of learned that we need a little bit larger of an option. So you'll see it's kind of broken down into the pros and cons, and if there's anybody on the ops facilities committee that wants to kind of weigh in, feel free to, since I don't think David is here, but essentially the ops committee voted to approve or recommend the UL alternative B, which is the larger option. The larger option gives us a little bit more flexibility with office space and future flexibility in terms of whether the rental cars stays or not for the future. It just gives us more room in terms of growth. So if we go with a smaller option, we don't want to be in the position, and Eric can chat a little bit about this as well. We don't want to be in the position of, in 3 or 4 years when it opens, that we're already needing more space. So we want to just go ahead and go with a larger option. The negative with the larger option is that we now have to kind of revise some of the environmental that we have to do with the FAA CEQA. So it puts us into another 9 to 12 months of additional environmental because footprint that kind of takes us into a different category, SEPA, and NEPA. So I don't know if Margaret or anybody else, Daniel, wants to talk anymore from the ops committee, but essentially we all felt we just let's go with a larger option rather than a small.
Is it possible to minimize this? So we can just,
I see it.
I'll chime in a little bit here. So we were not only concerned about the environmental process, but we had planned on for the last 2 years of Bill ATP grant funding, applying for competitive funding. And that environmental process, as it slides, will make us ineligible for that grant funding. So just want to be clear, there are two issues involved with the larger footprint. That said, the airport staff still believes the larger footprint is the best way to go, given some of our growth and the future development of the airport. So I think that was discussed in the operations committee as well.
Is there any way to accelerate the environmental impact process? How fast can we get it started?
Pretty quickly.
So what are you looking for from the commission tonight or to approve?
Just to approve the larger funds as we recommend the option.
Any comments or discussions?
I was just gonna say, we supported the alternative B, really knowing that the alternative A was really just gonna be more a stopgap, and it really wasn't gonna serve the airport long term, which is why we didn't just do the environmental now and be set up for the long term future. It's just like a smart approach.
I know the item that come before, they come before the county additional item and not recommendation might be hold an option. I know this item has to be before us, was that under presentation?
I think we talked about it a couple months ago, possibly, and the larger option is what we were moving towards, but at the time, we didn't know what the pros and cons of that were gonna be, and so we just wanted to make sure you all were still on board with continuing with that concept with the larger.
Please,
how long for having to get this environmentally and the bigger concerns are revalidated? How does the timing for all be fit in with a longer, bigger plan for the extended terminal? In other words, how long will all three things go through?
Oh, yeah.
And by the time it does go through and it gets built, will we then be tearing it down so that we build the new terminal?
No. This is able to fit in with the new terminal. This will stay in place as we build on.
in some respects, it's the first stage of phase one.
Which is more, another reason why you want to make it just bigger, because it's gonna cost a lot more than $5 million if we discover 5 years from now that we need to expand.
So I remember David felt also very strongly that, alternative A, what you essentially see there is rental car goods being put out to an outdoor kind of little, what you call them, trailers, yeah. They'd be air conditioned, but it still wouldn't be the greatest experience.
I recall that as well. Alternate B seemed to be more customer friendly option.
Yeah.
However, we are going to do that in the next.
But again, it's not a little bit more on, this is their rental part, yes, they want.
Sorry. But for this, a bigger brand, we just want to make sure that you're okay.
Before you take a vote, is there any public comments? Anybody on Zoom? Okay, then we need a motion to approve option B moving forward. Please.
I move that we move forward with alternate B.
Second that motion?
Perfect. And we'll take a roll call vote. And that's Berryman,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Delgado,
Yes.
Fong, Hughes,
Yeah.
Martin, Michaelis,
Yes.
Park,
Yes.
Suero, Wise,
Yes.
Wiseman.
Yes.
Thank you.
There's problems with Tracy Martin's audio because he's off.
7B, so what do we do with the car rentals?
We've been working on this, behind the scenes with, our consultant team for the last, 4 or 5 weeks, trying to kind of figure this out. And, it's a lot of kind of, that's the way that it's working, we've got musical chairs. There's a lot of things happening here. And, so Andy with Genor has kind of been, my partner in this to try to figure out how to do this. So he's gonna, hopefully Andy, you have the ability to share. And Andy's gonna kind of walk us through a presentation that, we've been working on, which is the same one we shared with the Austin Facilities, Committee. So
Just to clarify, that presentation has a recommendation, correct?
this one does, yes.
Go for it.
All right, quick tech check. Is everybody able to see my screen and hear me?
Yes.
We just see we see your email, yeah, the actual PDF presentation.
Okay. Hang on, let me move it over to this one then. How about now? Is that better?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for having me here. Again, my name is Andy Huang. I'm with Gensler and been working very closely with Jeremy and really the balance of the consultant team that's working on a lot of projects here at Palm Springs. Gensler's primarily been focused on the bag claim expansion that you just saw, as well as supporting the master plan efforts with Mead and Hunt. So today we are going to look at a game of essentially 3D chess. There's a lot of things that need to happen in order for that bag claim to expand. So we're going to show 2 different phasing approaches that we worked with the consultant or the entire consultant team in narrowing down to just 2 approaches. One which we'll call the baseline, and then one which we'll call somewhat the streamlined one. And the way we were able to narrow it down among the team and within our group was when we looked at each of these phases, we really compared the criteria of things like passenger experience, revenue and opportunities, planning flexibilities, operations, cost, and schedule, and of course, amount of relocations. And I know that last one, amount of relocations, embodies a lot of other criteria, because every time you relocate a tenant, you're not only having to spend the time and the effort to create documents to relocate them, their primary function, but then at an airport, there's also the signage, issue of signage and passenger experience of telling passengers and guests and staff the new places that they have to go every time there's a relocation. So with that, I'm going to go to the next page where we really wanted to take a step back. Even though we're just concerned about the baggage claim expansion, we are really thinking of this in terms of how do we minimize regret spend, how do we minimize schedule impacts to get to our end goal, which is the approved Alt-1 master plan, right? So again, even though we're here today, we have this in mind, but for this exercise, we really took it up to what we're calling stage 4. And what we're showing in these phasing diagrams is going to be 4 stages only. Now, understandably, there'll be quite a bit of other micro phases, but just to simplify it and to make it digestible, we're showing 4 stages, and then only up to this in its final location for this purposes. But again, we're thinking of the master plan as we're doing this. Now, for stage 4, we want to introduce the 5 projects that we really have in focus and their status. So obviously the baggage claim expansion, that's really what's the edifice of this, or at the center of this. Currently that's an environmental review and concept and schematic design. We're also considering the TNC lot. And for this exercise, we've assumed it's to be in lot A as its final spot for the stage 4. We realize that's in early planning and would also need some coordination with historical review given the location. We also are considering the FIS, the future FIS. So this is an early planning for a temporary location. I do see we've got some meetings with InterVistas, the other consultants, for this to begin that planning and conceptual planning. And then of course, the other big tenants or stakeholder that we are shuffling around in this is the CONRAC. So that's going to be the orange block, and that's at the master plan level right now. And of course, the last one is going to be the future concourse. I heard somebody mention that. So that is shown in the dashed black line here. And we want to make sure everything fits in the footprint and we're not building in a spot that we're going to build on top of ourselves. And that one also is in the master plan level. So we are constantly doing a little bit of back and forth between the level of detail of design and planning. So with that, if there's no questions, I will move into the phase one, phasing approach number one. And if there are any questions or comments, feel free to just jump in, chime in. I don't mind getting cut off. So the phasing approach number one, which we're going to call 3 temporary rent-a-car locations, is what we're calling the baseline approach. This is the one that has, I think everybody's had the assumption of, it moves the rent-a-car into the ready return lot, which is the lots just to the north of Bagclaim, and then the FIS, the temp FIS into Hangar 1. The main attributes of this one is that it does minimize the rent-a-car shuttle operations because we're going to keep the temporary rent-a-car location close to the Bagclaim. But it also has the most amount of relocations for the rent-a-car and the FIS. The rent-a-cars in this scenario would have to be relocated 4 total times, and the FIS would have to be relocated a total of 2 times. And then just before I go into the phasing of this, at the very end, we'll also have a summary side-by-side, so you can look at these side-by-side as well. So we like to start with the existing and then highlight some of the opportunities that we're capturing with these projects. So obviously with the baggage claim, we just discussed, we're really trying to grow into or provide a facility that can be grown into and provide the additional space. We're also trying to solve the split rent-a-car operations. So even though the counters and the ready return lot is here, we still want to remember that the Alejo facilities have the QTA and some of the storage that ultimately the CONRAC would consolidate in its single location. And associated with that one is the ready return road congestion. So I think that the CONRAC would also solve that problem. And then the fourth one is going to be the loop road congestion. So that's where the TNC lot relocation would come in and remove the TNCs from the curb, that second outer curb, and alleviate some of the traffic on the loop road. So with that, we'll jump into the first stage. So this is really the bag claim being under construction, right? Again, this is the approach number one, where we vacate the baggage claim building. We put it in a temporary facility, which is shown in this blue block in the ready return lot, as well as relocating the rent-a-car counters into a temporary facility that's shown at the diagrammatic level in the orange block. Now, because we've placed these functions in the ready return lot, we've displaced some of the rent-a-car parking. So in this scenario, we would need to take over some spots in lot A, as well as some in lot B to make up that difference. Once cleared, the baggage claim expansion and construction can begin. We're also showing the TNC lot moving to lot D right now, just to alleviate traffic as soon as possible in this stage, and then the FIS beginning construction in Hangar 1. So again, there's probably a bunch of different micro phases here, but just showing these major milestones for these projects. So for stage number 2, this is when the baggage claim is complete.
Andy, you have a question right quick.
Back in the previous slide, where do people actually claim language in that scenario?
In the temporary.
Where is that?
So
A little above.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, was that question answered? It's a little bit hard to hear.
Yes, it was. You can proceed. Stage 2.
Okay, cool. Stage 2. So stage 2, the bag claim expansion is completed. So the rent-a-cars counters can move back into baggage claim, and the temporary bag claim facility is obviously disassembled because the bag claim is complete. So even though that's moved out of the ready return lot, the bag claim does encroach still into the ready return lot. So it does displace spots. So we would still need to operate lot A as a ready or rent-a-car ready return lot as well. And you can see the TNC and the FIS are in the same location as they were in the previous stage. Stage 3 is when we want to start clearing the rent-a-car or the con rack, the area for the con rack. So in order for that to happen, the ready return lot really needs to be vacated. So that all the rent-a-car operations would at this point move to the south site. Shuttling operations would begin. And what this also does is now that the rent-a-cars have vacated the ready return lot, lot A becomes open for the TNC lot to be in its final location. And then as part of the clearing of or the enabling projects for the Conrack, all the projects or program in the Hangar 1 would need to be relocated. So that would be the USO Signature, the CBP, and then Signature Air would also need to be relocated. And then the FIS would also need to be relocated, which we're showing is a green box here. And this would again be a temporary facility. And we've made this off the footprint of the future concourse. So there would have to be some gymnastics in staging for the construction of the future concourse for the FIS to remain operational during its construction. So after all that, we reach our endpoint of stage 4 where the con rack is complete on the north end of the site. The shuttling operation obviously stops. The TNC is also in its final location in Lot A, and the temp FIS still remains as it would await its final home in that new northern concourse. Any questions on that one before I move to phasing approach 3? So for approach 3, we're titling this one the one temporary rent-a-car location. Some of the attributes of this one is it's a single temporary facility for the rent-a-cars. So it's a total of 2 moves compared to 4 moves in the previous one, because they have to move out once and then move once again into their final location, which does mean it would have the longest rent-a-car shuttle operation. But what it does by clearing out that northern site, it does maximize the flexibility for our master plan. So I don't need to go over the existing again. And this is where we really differ from the previous approach 1. So in stage 1, as we construct the baggage claim, instead of moving the rent-a-cars into the ready return lot, we move them to the overflow or the south site from the get-go and begin shuttling service. What that does is it clears off the rent-a-car or the ready return lot for other opportunities, such as relocating the TNC lot there, which would drastically reduce the amount of loop road congestion because this has a separate inlet, and the egress is also pretty close to the intersection of Taquash and El Cielo. And then it also allows us to build the FIS in the, we'll say the final temporary location of stage 4. And then again, the blue block is diagrammatically showing the temporary baggage claim facility as it's being constructed. During stage 2, once the baggage claim is complete, the temporary baggage claim is disassembled. The TNC is still operating in the ready return lot, and the rent-a-cars haven't had to move, and they still are in the southern site in the overflow lot area. And then once we get to stage 3, the 2 approaches are similar. Again, once we need to clear this site out, the TNCs would have to move out of the ready return lot and then into their final spot in lot A. The main difference on this one is the FIS does not need to be relocated out of Hangar 1 because it was never there. Instead, you only have to relocate the CBP, USO, and Signature Air. And then, of course, this is the same final stage 4 as shown as the previous approach, but drastically 2 different ways how to get there. So we'll do a quick summary.
Question
on this one, Andy. Why are we moving the TNC in this one twice. Why not just in that first phase, putting it right to the final location?
Yeah, you could do that. However, we thought if you move it out into the ready return lot, you do maximize the amount of short-term parking for a longer duration, which translates to a higher level of passenger experience as well as capturing revenue for the airport.
Yeah, I'm on PNC as much as kind of trying to figure out what to do with the rental car. That's the main thing. We can kind of move those pieces around PNC as well. Because you can also use the TNC and approach 3 as a bus pickup area as well to get down. So there's a lot of little minor nuances that we can play with. And really another thing that Andy really didn't touch on too much there was that approach 3 allows us to keep a lot of really all the current parking where it is, the front parking. Whereas you can lose quite a bit short term, that front parking there, that part of the road.
So my question would be the difference between 103 in the shuttling operation or the rental car. What are the time periods that shuttle operation would happen between the two? How many years difference between the two?
Andy, I don't know if did you hear that, or how much time you think would be the difference between the two? I think it's probably.
I think we said that our finger in the wind estimate right now to get to a finished Conrack would be about 6 to 7 years out, I believe. So this may be, I'm just gonna say maybe 3 years difference. But I will say that every time you do relocate the Conrack, there is a certain amount of planning that needs to be done. So it may be a little bit shorter than that, because the approach 1 to get to stage 4 may be a little bit longer than approach 3.
Approach 3, we're going to have to shuttle passengers the entirety of the time around the car. It's approximately half of that time potentially in option 1. Is that correct? Yes. Okay.
I would say from my perspective, it's blindingly obvious that approach 3 is the way to go. And shutting people to the rental car facility is not that terrible of an experience. People at other airports would all the time.
Yeah, and I explore because I actually like the consistency of doing it for the entirety of the time, whatever that is. It helps us as an airport operating.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
6 months ago or a year ago, I did this, now I'm doing that, what's going on?
It's hard.
So it's consistent.
Yeah.
What I would suggest is moving the TNC once in approach 3 to its final location and maybe doing the shuttle to the rental car facility from that ready return lot area. And, people should get used to what it's going to be in the future. We may as well start getting used to it now.
Other comments? Anybody on Zoom?
I did want to speak up for Commissioner Feldman, but I'll let Tracy, it looks like Commissioner Martin has his hands up.
Hi,
Tracy.
let me just first confirm, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. I guess the audio has been fixed. I think I have 2 questions. One is, have we assessed the implications to parking revenue between approach 1 and approach 3?
We have not assessed that yet. We were just trying to get a big picture direction before we started that analysis, but we can do that analysis.
Okay, I think that would be important to make sure that we're not picking an approach that is going to have a really detrimental effect on parking, since that's a big revenue stream for us. The second question I had was in the temporary RAC, it seems like it's placed in the, I guess, most western part of the long-term lot. which means that any overflow parking is going to have to be east of the RAC. Is there any reason why you put the RAC closer to the terminal and not the overflow lot closer to the terminal?
I think it could be either. It's just, you know, this was more just for the sake of demonstrating the intent.
Right.
Okay, so that could be, you could still move the RAC further east so that our long-term passengers don't have to, you know, go so far.
That's practical.
Other comments?
I'd like to make a comment, but the overflow lot that currently is there, I would like to see the rental car building in the.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I believe that would be for public comment. Yes,
Stand up.
yeah.
We'll come in a sec.
I did want to make a comment on Commissioner Piltman's behalf because he's not here. He was unable to attend, but he was concerned about the loss of parking spaces and our analysis related to that. We have tasked our consultants with looking into that. At the end of the day, it really doesn't change that we need to do this. However, we are focused on identifying additional parking, both public parking and employee parking for the loss in space with the Conrack sighting, particularly in approach 3.
And so we'll have an update on that.
Yes.
I would say just regarding parking, our pricing approach is probably a significant issue to why we have a parking utilization problem. It's probably one of the cheapest parking.
So, I think I agree with Kevin. I think I listened to the operations group when this was first presented, and I think that there is a lot of support for option 3. So option 3. But here's the question. If we do this, and I also think if we're going to inconvenience people, we should do it once, you know, for the sake of our partners and the car rental companies. I'm sure they would appreciate moving once and having that over with. And, you know, none of us love the idea of the buses, but it's the reality you get to move forward with this project. But if we do this and we move it over there, and that's where they stay until the car wreck is done, can we accelerate the construction of all of it? Can we do the baggage claim? Can we start to work on the Conrack at the same time? Because all that operationally, everything's out of that space. Now, I know we have to put signatures someplace, but that's part of the plan as well. And we're gonna have to move USO and knock down some of those buildings or repurpose some of those buildings. But with this option, this phasing approach allows us to move faster on the Conrack because all that space now is able to be developed.
I'm going to qualify that and say, in theory, yes, we could do that faster, but there are a number of caveats to that. The environmental process is always a huge one for us. That's going to be a caveat. Cash flow and the ability to fund it is going to be a caveat. The impacts on the operation of the airport as a system is going to be a caveat. So it would be challenging to accelerate construction of both at once. Can be done, but it would be very, very challenging.
So we're going to lose 9 months in environmental studies because we've gone with option B on baggage claim, right? 9 months. If we know now or have a pretty good idea of what the footprint of the Conrack is going to be, why wouldn't we start environmental on that in parallel to the baggage claim piece if we know? I get the money thing, but we're going to have the money issue anyways. Somehow we're going to have to raise the money to do this whole project over 10 years. But why, you know, it's something worth looking at. Because keep in mind, way back to our discussions on 1A versus 3, we went with 1A because for 3.5 years to get us to international service and get 7 new gates, including a Conrack. Now we're talking 6, maybe 7, and 3 to 5 of those years are going to be schlepping people to the other side to get their rental cars. So is it something, I know it's hard, but is it possible? And is that something that we said, we're going to try to do this and start working in parallel on these issues around money and environmental, everything else? Could we get it done faster? And if we could, what would it take to get that done? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, It's my understanding that the master plan is what's going to be analyzed under CEQA and NEPA. And that includes the contract. So I don't see a way to do the contract in advance of environmental review and clearance. So I don't even think that's possible. Am I misunderstanding the process?
No, that's accurate. So it'll be done, when Mead and Hunt presents this to the FAA, that essentially, not this particular project, but the master plan conceptual development, that would trigger a CEQA process in which they would evaluate all of the projects at once. There are some projects that are underway that would probably get some extra attention, like the baggage claim, the outbound baggage handling system. But everything else would fall within that CEQA process.
And really, the city could get in trouble with piecemealing if they try to break it up into individual projects that don't address the cumulative impacts of the entire master.
Well, that's my thought. Why wouldn't we do the whole thing?
I believe that would put the city in legal code.
Okay,
Open to challenge under CEQA. That's just my thought. I leave it to the city attorney or.
Yeah, well, and mostly because we've already started, we've already been, 6 to 9 months into the environmental, the baggage claim of BHS. So to change it at this point to add more projects.
Well, you're changing it anyways. You just told us it was 9 months for option B.
It's now a totally different project, and that could have a lot more impacts to our baggage claim.
When we do that, I know I'm pushing this out, but just be patient one more. If we're going back again for option B, do we know enough about what the contract would look like, especially if we move car rentals off property or the other side of the property? Do we know enough to put the contract in the same path?
I can't say that we know enough right now. And so I'm not sure if the commission was tracking last week's council meeting, but the contract still doesn't have a permanent home yet.
Other comments before we go to the public? Sorry, you're good? Okay.
I do have a follow-up question. So, aside from the CEQA, and there's to say that it was the possibility, everything, good to go. At that point, then you're seeking the rest of the funding out, and then some of that funding, I think that we're going to go back and reapply for the ATP grant.
For baggage claims specifically, yes.
And then so is that some of the resources that have been identified to provide the rest of the funding and an additional $5 million that will be the first option to the larger option.
Ask that question again.
Well, when is the large? And so then will it identify additional sources with ATP? I know there's a lot of different types of grants, we've discussed with ATP with that in the past, and I know it was taken back because we didn't have the CEQA done.
Right.
Makes sense because it's so competitive out there. But then outside of ATP, we identify any other resources to be able to get the rest of the funding that's needed, because I know we're talking about CEQA, but the funding is another challenge.
Yes, so Victoria's had our financial consultant working diligently on that, in between Mead and Hunt and Nebraska, they're going to come up with a plan for that. But we have options out there, options that we haven't even used in the past that we're thinking about using.
And I say this too because with the state's restraints on funding, I know many of the other agencies that I served on, many of that funding has been taken back. And a lot of programs out there have been drastically reduced. And so it's also once we clear the when I know that we will, is that the funding is going to be obviously a specifically more challenge. And so I doubt that trying to increase the time or decrease the time on the CEQA is going to be able to help us secure funding any faster, is what I'm saying. I don't think that that's happening. So when we're looking at the time for CEQA, I don't think that we'll be able to secure the funding needed by that many markets.
If you had to make a call today, where did the funding come from? How would this be funded?
So what we would likely do today, and please don't quote me on this because this changes constantly based on what's happening. But today we've already identified bill money, $25 million in bill money that would fund a majority of this project. In addition to that, probably entitlement funds through AIP, and we would probably issue a PFC back bond to cover the rest.
I want to hear from you just one more time. Why is it going to take too long? Why would it take this long if we have these projects in sequence instead of just putting the whole plan in?
Well, I think the main issue is just avoiding piecemealing. So technically, when you have a sequence action within a single area, you want to analyze the cumulative impact of all the projects in the area. So we're starting each project in a phase process, that can give issues of sequence because you're not considering the cumulative impact of the entire project in the area. So I think if you start earlier, that might create a sequence issue because you're starting each thing at a very separate part without doing the necessary sequence review. So, and that's one of the reasons why it also takes so long to get that environment finished as well. So
what I was proposing is that we avoid the piecemeal by going since the land would be free to do it.
And then I think that also goes back to the funding issue that was raised too, because when you start doing that, it costs a lot of money to do that. And, you want to kind of have funds in hand to really begin that process earnestly.
And are we not confident we could raise the money for all three of these projects?
So I think it's important to point out that we don't, the environmental to move forward on the contract, you need a lot of information to be able to provide to, and that could take us another 6 months to a year to put that information together just to get that. So we're just not ready for that, unfortunately.
Okay. I get it. I don't love it, but I get it. All right. Any other comments from the public? Okay, what would you like? Would you like us to propose to support option approach through? Will someone make that motion, please?
Second.
All right. So we're voting to approve option 3.
Perfect. Berryman,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Delgado,
Yes.
Fong, Hughes,
Yeah.
Martin,
Yes.
Michaelis,
Yes.
Park,
Yes.
Wise,
Yes.
and Wiseman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion is approved. Good. And thanks to everybody in operations. There's a lot of great work that went into this discussion, so thank you to the staff and to the operations group for that. All right, marketing and better service. Daniel.
Yes, so I am going to, I've got a printout on each of your desks. I have my update also with the item 7D combined with it. Let me put this on the screen. My update also wasn't emailed out in the packet, so let me leave on the screen or not. Okay, no. If you guys want a screen, just want to follow along here, I'll just go with the paper version then. Sounds good. Just a marketing update. So our usual schedule of earnings seats versus 1 year ago. We are down in over the summer months, which is we've been seeing for a couple of months now. We're having a lot of impact continue from 737 MAX issues and delivery delays. Most of our flights decreased from Southwest, Alaska, and United, they all operate MAXes. Also, United and Alaska are facing some pressures in San Francisco because SFO has runway construction work going on and everyone's had to reduce capacity. So it's basically just some issues that really are out of our control. October and November, we do see seats starting to decline again, which is good news. On to the next page, April total passenger count came in at 382,287, which is an increase of 0.8% over 2003, so another record month for it, which is good news. Also, we got some additional good news from American. They're going to increase their Phoenix flights by 4 more flights per week throughout the month of August. And they have additional incremental growth of 45 additional flights per month. We add in DFW with that as well. Alaska is set to return their JFK service on October 27th, which is 2 months earlier than it started last year. So we'll have, again, JetBlue published their schedule, so we'll both be operating JetBlue and Alaska to JFK this coming season. And just a reminder that Avello is still operating their Santa Rosa service throughout the summer. It's our newest year-round route. Well, sort of year-round. It will be operating in September and October, but it's still operating through our hottest months. So we have a bit of an escape to go north if you like wine country. The next slide is just seasonal routes that are either ending this month or will be ending by the end of this month. And we'll have, I think, one more that ends in June, which will be American to Chicago, and all our seasonal routes will have ended for the season. They'll start returning again in October, late September, early October. Just some other general updates, nothing for you guys to approve on this, just FYI. I'm going to be hiring marketing specialists to help out build up the marketing division. We have 2 unfilled FTE positions for customer experience, and since that program, I'm working with Commissioners Burke and Feldman to issue an RFP to find a consultant fully develop a well-rounded customer experience program. Given the time it will take to research, issue RFP, hire a consultant, and actually do the work to get the program ready to go, that won't be started probably close to fiscal 26. So we'll be able to backfill this customer experience position. I'm going to convert it to marketing for fiscal 25 and have those positions again readily available when the program is able to launch. So some of the duties will include here below on the advertising, campaign development, management, data analytics, oversight of our external advertising. Barter sponsorship agreement management, also working with community metrics to find others. Some of the barter agreements we have right now with the Coachella Valley Firebirds, the Palm Springs International Film Festival, and the Gay Desert Guide, to name a few. We'll also be working to find other local entities we can support and partner with. Internal advertising concessions management, brand management for the airport, external internal events for brand awareness, customer loyalty, marketing analytics, and customer retention work, and then just generally supporting other marketing division staff and projects as needed. Another update we're going to have this summer, we're going to be relaunching the PSP newsletter. We'll be doing monthly editions. It will all be digital, online, and then also we'll use it for additional ads, needed communications. Say we have an announcement like a new airline coming to town or a new route, we'll be able to use this as another communication tool. And again, it's just another tool for public communication to make sure that the community knows what all we have going on. Are there any questions on that before I go into the new air service incentive program?
Just a comment. I noticed that some of the advertisers downstairs are on the date. Do we have a process to check on that to, if they're out of date, just to put some more pro bono stuff up there?
Yes, so that's actually, Jude was going to be working on that. We'll be flipping out some of the static ones as well. I walked through and tour with them, and I think some ones that are out here, some of the ones mainly on the connected to the baggage claim. Yeah, those update on those actually, all those static displays you see in there, they actually will be removed, starting removal later this month and early in June, because the way they stick out and below there, they actually don't meet ADA requirements. And so we plan on static and be flipping it to digital screens, we kind of call digital static. And so in digital static, if you look at the baggage plane, we have one that kind of just rotates over, and we have what we call static, but it has multiple ads that rotates through. The static one, we let them sit there for a full 30 seconds to a minute, a lot longer than the other rotating ones. And so we can put those in there, and then we can sell more spots for it as well. So we'll be converting all the ones in that area to digital one. It'll be going from 6 displays to 3 total displays. We'll be, again, continuing our efforts to declutter all the advertising we've had in baggage claim. I think Fuse has done a great job of that so far, and they've also been increasing our revenues. And so we look forward to some increases in that. So yes, those will be getting swapped out for different and putting in, and we have filler, we'll be putting different announcements in there. I don't want to call it just community announcements in there, whatever. So
Timeline for that?
Yeah. Do what?
Timeline for that?
There's supposed to be a kind conversion at the end of this month. So should we, hopefully by next commission meeting, it should be in progress. So yeah.
Thanks. Incentive program?
So that's
And do we have any yet?
Yeah, but before you move on to item 17, just to open up for public comment, see.
Okay, so any public comments on the marketing discussion?
Is there anyone on Zoom? Please raise your virtual hand. No public comment.
Incentive program?
Okay, so the incentive program, a little background, we have the current program we have right now is still very similar to the existing 2022. I call it the 2022 program because it was approved and acted in early 2022, this month, 2024. Some of the primary reasons we are actually, back in a second, I've got here with me Ollie Lamb. He is one of the owners of Avon Pacific Consulting, their air service development consulting firm. They are hired and work with Visit Greater Palm Springs. They've been doing a number of years of work with them for air service development. They work with me as well. We partner to get new airlines and new routes to Palm Springs. The 2022 program that we enacted was Kia's company. All I just staff helped me research and build that program that was approved. I think it was March or April 22, and then went to council and went into effect on July 1st, 2022. They also helped me revise and research this program and compare it against other airports to make sure we're competitive with this, to make sure we're kind of in meeting industry norms for this one. So he's here to help answer any questions that may come up as we go through this, okay? So on this one, back to the primary reason for updating the current program. So the FAA, they have guidelines on air service development and programs, and they have updated their guidelines as of January this year. So that prompted for us to make sure we are updating our program to make sure we are in compliance with the FAA. I know that we know airports across the U.S. are currently updating their programs, and so we need to make sure we retain our competitive edge when it comes to getting new air service, not being behind the ball, because I like to remind people that air service development, a lot of people I think that are not familiar with it, think of an airport competition area as maybe just the airports primarily around it, like Ontario, LAX, and to a point they are because we can compete for passengers. But when it comes to talking to airlines and competing for a new route, we're really competing on a national scale. Because the way the plane can fly anywhere, really. So let's say we could be competing with Omaha, Raleigh, Durham, for instance, depending on where we are. So it's really, we need to make sure we are competitive on the country scale. So another reason for making sure we're updating this. And then also part of it, as you guys know well aware, the master plan update, we are building an FIS. And so this program adds new incentives to attract international service. We had an international service option in there. It wasn't really a stellar incentive option because it's really only available to airports that have US pre-clearance. When we have an FIS, this now has an option to actually attract airlines that would actually want to use the FIS, maybe from Europe or South America, things like that, whatever is going to be, we're going to try to attract. So let's take to our current program, like I mentioned earlier, still very similar to our 2022 program. Some of the options, to condense the charts in it to make it a little more easier to read and easier to follow. It increased marketing funds for new daily year-round route, which is always a priority for us. It increased marketing funds for new service to our target airports. And it also increased the incentives for airlines to convert seasonal route to year-round, like American and United to Chicago, Delta to Atlanta, etc. JetBlue or Alaska to New York, trying to make those year-round. Those are a priority for us. Target airport will be identified with the airport staff and Visit Greater Palm Springs and ALL Pacific as the greatest community needs. Some of those examples would be Atlanta, Chicago, Detroit, Houston, New York, DC, etc. We also increased incentives to encourage more airlines to come to Palm Springs. More airlines increases competition, which therefore helps bring down fares, make them more affordable for everyone. And what we really, something new we added is a new summer seasonal service option, because we know boosting or increasing air service in summer is definitely a community priority. That's something we want to support. The summer seasonal option is more lucrative than the in-season seasonal option. So airlines can still offer a seasonal route in season, but it's not as lucrative because our main goal is to increase our seasonal service, to try and increase summer airlift. And so we make it a bit more lucrative. There's also, this also kind of plays in with the incentive we offer to existing airlines to convert some of their existing seasonal routes to year-round. It actually matches them. So if American were to take their Chicago service to year-round, they go for the summer season, add the summer season months, they get $75,000 in marketing. If an airline comes in and adds that summer season in Chicago and just for summer, they also get the same amount. So we're basically getting the same incentive offering to new inter-airlines or to existing incumbent airlines to kind of level the playing field. But it's all about really trying to bolster that summer seasonal service so we have it to meet the community needs. Let's see. I think that's everything on that. Yep, okay. And then on the next page, the annual incentive limits that were in place with the current 22 program are still in place with this one. We're offering $250. We have a pot of funds that we earmarked $250,000 to set aside for marketing for new air service each fiscal year, and then up to $1 million in fee waivers. So that does not actually just actual cash, it's just credit. We have something inside that we can use for that. So when the funds of each pot in fiscal year, if they're exhausted, the program is paused until more funds are approved by the council or when the new fiscal year begins. And the limits on these can actually be increased or decreased during our biannual budget planning depending on their budget. So we're going into year 2 of a 2-year budget with the city. So we'll have the same 250 and 1 million for fiscal year 25. And then we go to fiscal 26, and we're budgeting that. The budgeting committee can look over it and with Victoria. And if we have additional funds, we could actually increase the pot of funds for marketing dollars if we wanted to. Now, it wouldn't change the number of marketing dollars in the airline we get, they call it incentive. It just means we could basically, we could fund more new routes if it comes around, so. So we're going to cover that, and then additionally, we also, similar to the 2022 program, the 2024 program provides a means to recoup some of the marketing funds that airline fails and fill the terms of the program. So say they announce, we give them, X amount of dollars for advertising, and say they never actually fly the route, that we can, get that money back from them, so. And let's see, and also additionally, Todd and the marketing committee have reviewed this and they approved it. The following slides were also included in your staff report. I was in the email mentioned last week. If it's a larger one, I want to be a little bit easier to read. I'm not going to go through this if you guys have already had that. And I'll just take questions at this time.
Is there anybody in the meeting that wishes to make a comment? Public comment? Anybody on Zoom that wishes to make a public comment, please raise your virtual hand. No public comment?
Okay, just a question. In your top 3, what would make us, how do you define success? I'm not jump into in spending this money. What would be your top 3? Do you really want to get, that would make yourself feel good about the investment of this money?
Oh, for new routes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for us it'd be Atlanta, Chicago, New York. Do I have that? Do you agree?
I don't know what's on DC.
Oh, DC, there's actually. Okay, what do you think?
No, I agree with Ollie. So I defined it as new routes. Washington certainly being at the top. I also defined it as somewhat additional summertime flying.
Yes.
I think as a destination, we're ready to welcome more people year round. So those are kind of 2 for me of what makes this a successful program.
I had friends who were visiting my week in DC, and all of their friends had the same complaint. When do we fly direct? On Highway 3 in Washington. So you would say Washington and then summer support?
I would say Washington as well as other targets, new cities for us. I know Detroit is important. There's some other key markets, Washington being on the top. Attracting new as well as summer.
Yeah, my mind went to the summer service because that's a big priority of ours. And so like Chicago, Atlanta, New York, getting that year round would be, I think, big ones in my book. Also, getting Detroit, another hub, getting DC as well, more access, especially to go transatlantic as well for connections into.
So let's talk about that. So back to you, Jeremy. So we got the FIS. It's a temporary little summer there, but it allows us to bring in flights from Germany. What's the soonest we'd be able to have that temporary location?
While we're doing the phasing for the baggage claim, one of the things that Andy mentioned was the temporary FIS. And in theory, the structure we can get immediately. The bigger problem is convincing Customs and Border Protection to get officers here. And that's going to be a strategy. And I think that's probably a 2 or 3 year process.
So you have to try to get staff or we're trying to get the airlines to say yes. And we do that in parallel. Is that the strategy?
Yeah, we do.
We do. In air service development, when it comes to international, the service I'm trying to get, let me say British Airways, we're talking a 3 to 5 year. It's my favorite saying, it's very true, is air service development is a marathon, not a sprint. So we start allocating seats as we're doing this, and we can kind of work with them and work in tandem.
Greater Palm Springs feel good about that?
Absolutely. We agree, and we often have these meetings together when we can, and it's absolutely, those conversations have been going on for years, and we continue to develop those relationships.
We all want
to be the same thing. Yeah, great, thanks.
We all want to be on that first flight to London. All right. Any action steps you need from us?
Yes, I do request the commission to vote and recommend the city council to approve this.
Can I have a motion, please?
I will. Second. Second.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take a vote. Berryman,
Yeah.
Burke,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Delgado,
Yes.
Fong, Hughes,
Yeah.
Martin,
Yes.
Michaelis,
Yes.
Park,
Yes.
Wise,
Yes.
Wiseman.
Yes.
Thank you.
The motion passes. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
All right. Concessions project, Jeremy.
I wonder about item 7E.
I'm sorry, 70. Go for it.
So that's I think we originally had it as number one, we're gonna give it, sorry. So I don't know if you wanna, you or someone else from the operations committee wants to, give a recap of that, but we already touched on two of the items, so.
Anyone in operations want to add anything else? We okay? Okay, yeah, those are the two.
Vice Chairman Corcoran, this is Christina. Committee Chairman Feltman said that he can attend the meeting in June and that he'd be happy to also provide an operations committee update at that time.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to concessions. Karen.
Okay, I think, Victoria and I are probably attacking this one, but I'll just review the schedule here real quick. I think it's in your packet there, lessons here. So I didn't add on 9 cities here, but obviously we just finished a Josh Coyle Autonomous Oasis, so those two are our newest openings from a couple weeks ago. There were 2 new retail spots, so I don't know if you knew that or had seen it yet, but we're really excited to have. So now it's 3. We have now 3 new locations open. And really the rest of the schedule is kind of on track. Clouds and Las Vegas and Coachella Coffee will be opening, projecting summer in the end of June. So they're busy working on those 2 spaces as we speak. And then once we open the Hey Joshua, we close the other retail store in the Mono, and that will become the new In Motion. So that's currently under construction, and that's slated to be the kind of the next one that will open after that. Clouds and Las Vegas. So any questions specifically to concession schedule? I can answer those. If there's anything beyond the schedule, Victoria knows, and I figured out it.
I have a couple of things. Commissioners, any questions? Anybody on online? Sorry, David Feldman had sent suggestions on signage for the 9. What was it?
9 cities.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Digital signs to make menus. Have they been received and any updates on that?
We've discussed this with Parodies and they're looking into it.
The issue is that everything's paper. And so if you have a digital, you can see what the offerings are. You can move through the lines faster. I know the other issue was I'm going to be flying Friday, 5:30 this morning, or 5:30 in the morning, the opening hours. Any updates on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're actually still trying to brainstorm some challenges that we're running into, and we're still even working with internal departments. So the good news is that we did open Santa Rosa Kitchen at 5 a.m. starting on Monday. So before it was opening at 6 a.m., but we just recently were able to get it to open at 5. Our first flight out for the day is, I think it's like 5:25, 5:30 in the morning. Contractually speaking, Parodies and Marshall Retail Group / WH Smith, they are required to open 30 minutes prior to the scheduled departure. So technically, they should be opening at 5 a.m. We were working with our security team to see if there's any way that we can have TSA come in earlier in the morning, because the employees that start at those restaurants, they have to go through screening and get screened by TSA, and TSA typically opens up at 4:15 in the morning. So we're still kind of working that through to see if it's possible to open up earlier. In addition, we are also using this as an opportunity to see how many passengers are actually utilizing coming in and actually eating or purchasing anything between the new hours from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. So we're going to be monitoring that closely. There is always PSP Coffee that opens at, I believe, 4 a.m. That is one that we will keep open, that we do get sales in the morning. It's quick to open up a coffee shop versus opening up a full service restaurant where you're going to have to spend more time heating the ovens, chopping the food and preparing the food. So, but some good news is we do have Santa Rosa Kitchen opening at 5 a.m. instead of 6 a.m. as of Monday of this week.
So that would cover us in the Bono, and then we have 9 cities and regional.
Yeah, so I'm not sure about what time the first departure is out of 9 cities, but the primary is the Bono that we have opening up earlier. So
American's Dallas flight is 5:30, and I think I'm on a Southwest flight at 5:30 on the regional, on the RJ.
okay, so we're still working through that. So hopefully we can get it open at that time for you when you come in.
Still a question. So PSP Coffee opens at 4 a.m. How do they get their staff through TSA?
It has to do with badging, a specific badging credential. And according to TSA rules and regulations, you are not allowed to have a certain number of cited badge. So it depends on each individual operation. So it's not something that we can issue too many of.
Yeah.
Other comments or questions on concessions?
So one question, do we have maybe, what we get in sales throughout the day from the concessions? And I say this because much like businesses, they usually open and close during the times where they're making enough money. And after that, then it's somewhat of a loss. And so would you guys know when the increase of sales are when it comes to some of the concessions?
Absolutely. So we actually, I met with the general manager today. We have weekly meetings. And typically the sales range between 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. So, but if you look at the coffee, people are there in the morning, they're getting the coffee. Their sales are typically starting at 4 a.m. So the hours that we actually have, with the exception of the Santa Rosa Kitchen just opening, those hours actually show that sales are opening or coming in at 9 a.m. And it actually does also have ebbs and flows with how many departures. We got to think of departures because arrivals are not going to come in and stop and get a bite to eat. It's going to be the departures that are arriving early, that are waiting, that are going to sit down and get food. So typically the 9 to 2 is the block of where you're going to see your highest sales.
And
That's also what the business.
and I'm sure during seasons that also shifts.
That's correct. Yes. You're welcome.
Really tricky at about 5 a.m. It's most of the airlines are boarding 30 minutes. Right.
Right.
So if you go to the RJ, I got 5:30 in the Southwest and 9 cities opens up, you know, what do I do? Do I board late and wait for something? So
And see, that's where we're working with TSA to see if they can open sooner because they do need at least an hour to get the kitchen prepped.
got it.
So if TSA is opening at 4 o'clock, then they're able to open the store at 5 and have food ready. Yeah, so that's where we're still working on that with TSA.
You also know, even though the former Half Moon is the last one to open, we're still waiting for new concepts and new menus on this, and we get them to show them. Anything else in concessions?
Do we have any public comments in the room for concessions? Anybody on Zoom wish to make a public comment? If so, please raise your virtual hand. Nobody comments.
So move on to measures for update. Chairman.
Okay, so we have the 4 projects that were approved under Measure J. The one that we're going to be tackling first that we'll be able to get to the most immediate will be the switch out of the water fountain to the water fountain with the bottle filling stations. Areas helping me with that to identify those, particular, model units, and so we should be able to get our maintenance department on that fairly quickly over the summer to make some of those installations. So that should move fairly quickly here over the summer.
There's 10 of them, right?
I think there's approximately 10 that use or stuff.
No, still working for that.
Then I think the next priority project on, for us will be the flooring replacement. But that is gonna take us a little bit of time to, work itself out because, we reported in the Ops and Facilities Committee, that we're really planning on switching out all the carpet to terrazzo in the main terminal. And so what that does is that, terrazzo is a little bit more difficult to put in, other than just carpet. So what we've done is we're working with Gensler, our architects, to come up with a flooring kind of master plan for us so that we can properly design the terrazzo, make sure it's, you know, meeting all the historical needs and bringing kind of the terrazzo back to life. So, we're slowly working on that process, but it has started. And then the two other projects, one is the shade structures outside in the middle island for the TNC and taxis. Obviously, there's a lot of moving parts there with the master plan and moving things around, and so we are recommending kind of pump the brakes on that a little bit once we got enough stuff going on, in terms of busyness and a lot of different projects happening. So we're gonna pump the brakes a little bit on that one, and then the fourth one is the benches outside, that we were gonna kind of bring back some of the historical aspects of the benches, which we have a partnership with Gary Wickler. So that can kind of be next on our list that maybe we can kind of tackle later on this year.
So one of the commissioners, when we proposed that, had a vendor attached to that proposal. They built these, I can't remember which commissioner. Do you remember this? It was proposed by one of our commissioners. Oh, yeah, I'm no longer here. But he had a vendor who did it, and that was part of the proposal.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, again, with our procurement, issues and things, we haven't dove into that yet. So with Measure J, there might be some restrictions of, you know, selecting a vendor unless there's, you know, some kind of sole source thing we can do. But anyway, when we dig into that, we'll meet with Gary and figure that out.
Okay.
How to do that.
We approved carpet, and now we're going to terrazzo. Do we need to put that through the whole process again?
Well, if the city's purchasing goods and services, then you got to follow the procurement policy. Whether or not there's a valid exception to fast track it, yeah, that's another thing to discuss further. Like Jeremy mentioned, the sole source, that might be an option here depending on the particular needs, but we just got to work it through the procurement department.
Do you think that has to go back to city council?
Well, I think he's talking about the.
I can actually, can I chime in on that? So the $400,000 that we were gonna use with Measure J funds is still gonna be applied towards the terrazzo. So, even though the type of flooring is changing, we're not increasing or decreasing the Measure J funds. So the answer to going to city council is it wouldn't be necessary because we're just replacing the type of flooring. The remaining amount of what the terrazzo cost is going to be, it will be funded with airport funds.
Perfect. So we're cool. So we're good.
Let's go back to the mentions, it was Joe Evans.
And Jeremy, I know we're pausing on the shade structures, but a lot of folks agree that's still moving forward, correct?
Yeah, that is happening, but yeah, we are actually working through the badging process right now with contractors, so we're getting really close to starting.
Could we, at a future meeting, maybe see the design of what they're going to look like and how they're laid out?
Sure. Yeah, we can have that, that'll be good.
So if we're postponing the shade structure,
We're talking about the TNC. Yeah.
TNC, how much money would we put into that? Is that $1 million?
I think it was, yeah, it was,
Do we redeploy those funds to something else?
Now that we might have to go to council.
yeah,
I mean, we're gonna need it eventually. Under TNC and stuff, so.
Is there
It
a,
collects it as well as sitting there, right?
Correct.
Is there a deadline for spending that money?
No.
There's not.
No.
But it has to be spent. That's the,
Yeah, and I understand we wouldn't want to change projects without council's input.
I mean, we seem pretty clear on where it's at and not quite there. I haven't seen anyone proposing somewhere entirely different.
but if it's 6 years, do it.
No, I really don't think it's gonna be that long. I would just give us some time to work through some of these other ones. I mean, we get some of these not off the list, we can maybe revisit.
We hope to have a plan for you in the fall.
Yeah.
We got a lot of really, for those of you, we got a lot of really good feedback. And I think we supported, that was the largest investment we made. You know, when people had suffered, again, this is funny, because we're advocating for more summer activity. And so when we said we're gonna put $1 million on this, people were like, great, you know, that'll provide some relief. So if we're gonna look at it again in the fall, then yes, if not, then, you know, we redeploy the money and open up the wish list again and find other things that could have immediate impact. Because that was our number one priority, was to make sure that whatever we spent this money on, from the benches to the water fountains to the floors, would have a significant impact on customer experience. We're putting $1 million back on the back burner. I'm like, come on, can we find another way to deploy that money? Because we're also collecting along the way more Measure J money. I was gonna ask Victoria, do you know how much is in the piggy bank now? Measure J money?
Yes, I don't know right now, actually. I do know, but I can't give you a straight answer without going back and looking at it.
For next month, you would.
Sounds
All right. So this fall, you'll let us know, and then we can revisit whether we spend this money differently or not. Any other comments, any public comments on Measure J?
I have a question. You're talking about replacing sound absorbent carpet with hard carpet. You consider in terms of the echoing or the noise?
He said public comment.
You said public comment,
You
yes.
said public comment.
I heard myself say.
You're good, you're good.
Yes, I'm the deaf one, don't worry.
Stop that when you do. Go ahead.
Oh, so you're asking that, talking about replacing sound absorbent carpet with echoing terrazzo. I love the idea of a terrazzo, but has sound issue been considered too?
I'll answer that. So yes and no. Part of this was taking what currently exists and bringing it back to what existed when the building was first built. That's the idea behind it. The building was in a much different place at that time. So we realized there may be some consequences from that relative to the sound. It'll mostly impact my staff in my office, to be honest. So it'll drive us nuts, everybody else.
Okay, it's a good question. We've not had that discussion.
And I'm sorry, what's your name?
Owen Stone.
Okay, thank you, just for that. Perfect. And is there anybody on Zoom that wishes to make a public comment? Please raise your virtual hand. No public comment.
All right, no actions up to you, but some follow-up items. Shade charges, $1 million, okay. Victoria. How are you?
Good evening. I'm Victoria Carpenter, the Airport Administration Manager. The financial summary ending April 30th, 2024 is in your packet. I'm just going to go through it pretty briefly. So our airport customer facility charge fund, the year-to-date revenues are $5 million. That represents 79% of the full year budget, reflecting seasonal nature of CFC charges. I'm sorry, CFC revenues. Our year-to-date, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong slide on my computer. 145, airport customer facility charges. Year-to-date revenues are $8.1 million, which represent 89% of the full year budget. So this is through the end of April. This reflects the seasonal change of CFC revenues. We have not expended any expenditures. So if y'all recall that this CFC
fund here is to support maybe the future consolidated facility project, or even an expense that could be in this fund would be our shuttle buses once we get to that point. So we currently do not have any expenses in Fund 405. Fund 410 is our passenger facility charge fund. We had a total operating revenue of about 5 million, and we had a expense of about 340,000. The expense is for our bonds that we have that happen twice a year, where we pay principal and interest. Our airport operation and maintenance fund, our operating revenue is 35.8 million. Our expenditures total 26 million. So there's a surplus of 9.6 million. One thing to keep in mind is that we did not collect any grant revenues for CRISA, ARPA, or CARES grant. So this is all revenue that we're generating from all of our airline and non-airline revenues. Fund 416 is our airport special capital projects fund. And we currently have a deficit of 3.9 million, where we have 1.3 million of revenues and 5.3 million of operating expenditures. Again, this account here is our capital projects, where at the end of the fiscal year, we'll be doing a transfer from our Fund 415 into Fund 416 to cover the deficit and cover the amount of expenditures that we have. Also in this account, we do quarterly reimbursements, or what we call drawdowns from the FAA for our entitlement funds, which we currently have 3 projects that we are seeking reimbursements on a quarterly basis. Last is our airport cash summary. You'll see that in Fund 405, we have about $46 million in funds there that we've been accumulating ever since we increased that customer facility charge from our car rentals from $10 per transaction to $9 per day up to 5 days, for a maximum of $45 of a collection. We have about 50% of our rental cars that are doing 5-day transactions. So that's why we're having such a hefty cash amount. And then Fund 410, we have a $2.5 million cash balance. Fund 415, unrestricted, we have about 12.7 million of cash. And then you'll see that there's a deficit of 614,000, which is not a problem because we do have the Fund 415 that has cash in it. Are there any questions in regards to the financial summary?
Questions? Commissioners on Zoom, any questions? Raise your hand.
Do we have any public
I'm
comment?
not ready to vote.
Oh, sorry.
Hold on.
Sorry. Go ahead.
All right, so I had sent a note to Harry about this, and this had to do with Apple Pay at the parking exits. I know, and I think it has an effect on the credit effect on revenue. Can you just tell us what the status of that is? And
I think, or
Go ahead, please.
so ABM Parking Management Company is our parking manager that you will see the TEOs, the traffic enforcement officers out on the curb, the taxi stand, taxi starters, the cashier. They manage all of our parking, our public parking that we have here at the airport. And so they are also responsible for collecting payment, and they pretty much every single day, they'll do a daily report of how much money is collected, credit card, cash. Downstairs in the main terminal is a pay on foot machine where passengers can pay for their parking, grab their luggage, and then go out to their parking, give the ticket to the cashier, and then exit. So ABM and the airport have been working together to try to find a solution for us to go to some kind of nowadays current payment by even using a QR code where they scan it and then they can pay on their phones. So ABM and the airport just had a call earlier this month, and they are still in progress with it. So they do intend on on upgrading their payment system so that passengers can make payment via a QR code. And that will include Apple Pay and Android Pay and Google Pay and all of the above. So that is in the works.
Sure, but I also wanted to add on to that. So that's kind of a short-term fix for us. Medium term, shortish, medium term, we're actually looking at replacing our revenue system for parking. That system is outdated. It's over a decade old. We actually have an RFP out today. It's on the streets already to replace that revenue system. So hopefully that'll come with Apple Pay and QR codes and, you know, bill by phone or whatever it is. We'll have to see what's being proposed.
And even we've also put in there a reservations, so where passengers can make reservations online and reserve their space. So that's also in the request for proposal.
And if they come through with that, when we had the new website build, we had some backend stuff ready that we just plug and play and put that on the website to make it to go watch it live. We have the technology put in, so.
We can keep the commission abreast.
Sure.
That's a big improvement. That'd be a great improvement. All right, anything else on that issue? Financial questions? Anybody else in public?
Anybody on Zoom from public would like to make a comment? Please raise your virtual hand. No public comment.
Victoria, the mural update.
Yes, so the mural update, so I just wanted to advise the commission that the airport has been working closely with the Arts Commission. At the March 20th Airport Commission meeting that we had, the commission voted to recommend the installation of the welcome mural at the Palm Springs Airport. So the Arts Commission approved the project, and at the request of the planning department, they ended up holding a public hearing. The next steps for the final approval is to actually take that agreement to City Council, and the intent is to take it on to City Council on May 23rd. So that will be the next City Council meeting. After that, then we are going to work with the artists to have them come into the airport and help them get onto the airport, help them, do an inspection of the items that they're bringing on the airport, and then they can start potentially doing their art in mid-June. So that's the intent there.
Any updates on the statues?
Updates on the statues. So the statues are the existing statues inside of the courtyard. The intent was to relocate the statues and to a centralized location. After speaking with the chairman of the Arts Commission, there's maybe some other intent there. And so we need to get those details ironed out. The airport actually is looking into doing an arts policy. So we think that if we do this arts policy, we can probably get this in place so that we can figure out what kind of art's going to come in, how often it's going to come in, how, when we're going to change it out, maintenance, and all of the above. So we want to get that ironed out, and we want to work with the Arts Commission to just make sure that they can help us with that as well. So
They committed to get that done. So do we have a date to get that done?
we do not have a date.
We have an update on that next week.
Yes.
As God is our witness, we will have articles there.
Actually, can I make a public comment?
You were ready to, is it, you want to make a public comment?
Video?
Go for it. You have such a rich heritage here across the spectrum that whenever you do the policy, you may want to kind of consider that to try to cover everything. I mean, when you look at all from the indigenous people all the way across to mid-century modern, what was done in World War II, all that stuff really plays into the facility here. That's your heritage. Going back to when founders signed the bond issue for the airport, like 1965. And so it might be fun to have that considered with the policy. So some of that, you have the ability to bring some of that and maybe swap it out.
I think it's a great idea. That's a great idea. And are you working with operations, or will you be working operations on this art policy? Or is it something you're gonna bring to operations into us?
Yeah, so the intent was to start a draft, bring it to the operations committee, and then in theory, the operations committee would take it from there and refine it and make sure it was whole.
Please.
I do have a question. So if I'm understanding it correctly, then, I mean, the city council, they have their commission, their art commission. And obviously they go through the whole process of selecting what art they want to come in. From my understanding, we don't choose the art. So the policy then to implement and make those transition for when the murals or art is.
They make recommendations, but we approve.
And then it will report back to city
And
council.
then it goes to city council for the money.
So it goes to 2 recommendations.
And the 2 projects that, 15 months ago, one is the mural, which is going through the process this month. And the other is moving the statues around Kennedy's, the bus, and to light those. And that was approved by this commission more than a year ago. And so my only ask is, and I think we said this to Gary last time you presented, can you please just deliver on those 2 things while we're doing the arts plan in parallel? I'm all for it, the arts plan. I think it would be interesting to get our fingerprints and a plan for moving forward, but I'd like to see delivery on what has been approved more than a year ago. So if we can ask for some support there. And if, Jeremy, for some reason, from an operational point of view, we can't wire the lights to light these things or something like this, we can talk about that. But I'm just afraid if we postpone it again, we won't have any progress. And we did say at our last meeting that the white space across from Clear is an opportunity for art. And if we can't move forward, we don't have other recommendations to the art commission, then we should get creative about other things we can do short term, just to bring more art and more life to the airport. So, but I think you have some good ideas too, in terms of how we put some of these things in.
Just to slow down the city council's plan, because there's 2 recommendations on the board, and we're just, I've been unusual at it. When it be, or has very big consideration group that joins me, the commissioners here and the art commissioners, if it's elected that we can move forward jointly to city council, that would be a consideration. Some cities do that and just facilitates things better and, you know, builds collaboration and partnership. I think that one thing that the art commission wouldn't know is obviously what areas can be identified at the airport that this commission would probably have better knowledge of, is where a mural or some type of art piece can be, you know, provided. But I do, coming from the city council side, I do rely heavily on some of the art commissioners because their history really is in art. That's what. And so I hope that we can work with the art commissioners a bit more in ensuring that we're not overriding whatever the recommendations are.
When was the meeting? Do you remember?
The meeting whenever the airport commission approved the mural?
No, about more than a year ago. There was a meeting between the commission and the art commission when suggestions were made. And then there was a series of tours to identify possible locations. And then the recommendations came. They were approved. And then this mural costs money, so that's going to city council. I'm not sure what the costs are associated with moving the statues and putting them in the RJ pathway. But those steps are followed. And we had Gary presented last time, giving us excited update on the mural, which is great. But now it's, so we had actually those steps, now we're waiting for the implementation of what is decided. And I think if we can get that moving and then work on this arts policy, then pull them back into this process, that makes a lot of sense. Exactly what we propose in the book.
When we're talking about the implementation piece, where is that being held at? Is that here or at the city council side?
That's here.
That's here. But before we continue, I might recommend getting this on the agenda for next month's meeting. We're kind of stretching the limit of the mural thing here, so with the general policy. So let's do that. Any other comments on the mural?
I just have a quick question. The arts policy, maybe explain what's does it accomplish? Formalizing?
It's not, it's more of a program than a policy. So it would not only work with the Arts Commission, but it would take various components of the art ecosystem and bring them together to do something specific to the airport.
Next survey.
We just need to ask if there's any public comments on Zoom.
Any additional? Art? Euros? Good.
Are there any Zoom public comments? Please raise your virtual hand. No public comments.
All right, here.
All right, so the commission may have received a couple of weeks ago a series of emails. I'm not sure who on the staff sent it to the commission, but regarding a survey called Airport Next. And I kind of I didn't get the opportunity to brief you all on what that was before we sent it, just because there was a timeline issue associated with it. So I'm taking the opportunity now. But essentially, we're one of 16 airports that's involved in a pilot program to understand stakeholder engagement and our alignment with stakeholder engagement. The idea is to get a 360-degree review of the airport itself, how the airport's working for the community and for the stakeholders. And so these airports, the 16 airports are in the US and Canada. So I think it's 8 in each country, actually. It's run by Airports Council International. Or a group working for Airports Council International. But it really does tick down the box of stakeholders to determine where are we aligned, where are we misaligned, and how we can merge those points to make sure that we're being effective for the entire community. So not only did the commission get an email, but also the city council, city manager, the airlines, and all the tenants on the airport got an email. The Chamber of Commerce, Visit Greater Palm Springs. It was a pretty broad swath of people, but it's asking very specific questions about how the airport is engaging. Are we meeting, are we delivering on our successes, things like that. And it provides an opportunity also for comments back to the airport. These aren't public results. They actually are shared with the airport, and then we can choose to make them public. And we're not benchmarking against other airports, but the idea is to get a 360 feedback on how we're doing as an organization. So I think there was a couple of hundred emails that went out relative to that, but I wanted to make sure that the commission understood what was happening. And I asked you to pretty please fill out the survey. I think it's helpful for me and my staff. So just wanted to put that out there. Any questions?
Any questions? Just in terms of next steps, eventually send you a report to the commission.
Correct.
Good. Have you all seen it? Hopefully put it in your to-do list to do it. And those of you who are flashing, you can jump in. Is it on our website? How do people get it?
It's not, it was only sent to specific stakeholders that were identified because they're trying to basically keep them consistent across airports. So it didn't go out to the community. It's only for internal stakeholders or stakeholders that work directly with the airport.
Can I ask a question?
Do we have any public? Yeah.
If we can take public comments. How good all is the community survey or assess in terms of what the community thinks about how the airport is surveying its experience?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So that's actually the customer experience piece that Daniel's working on now to get that with the
That's folded into the airport expert?
No, these are separate.
Okay, side issues. Got it.
And Sue, what's your name?
Dawn Walker.
Thank you.
Dawn Walker.
And then the deadline to complete the survey is June 26th.
Great.
Perfect. Do we have anybody on Zoom that wishes to make a public comment? Please raise your virtual hand. No public comment.
Period.
All right, the next thing is the projects and capital improvement program update. A couple of things with that. So you may have seen my written report. We do have an update on the master plan, the conceptual development plan that did go to council last week. Council asked us to take it back and do some additional work. Part of it was stakeholder outreach, making sure that we were reaching the right people. So they wanted us to do some additional open houses and things. We're working behind the scenes to see what that looks like virtually and what we can do there. but to do some additional public outreach on the development plan. We were asked to look at specifically the USO and the Palm Springs Air Museum and their role in the airport layout plan and conceptual development plan. We were asked to revisit the consolidated rental car facility again. We have some council members that really weren't convinced that that's the right location. So we're digging into some traffic analysis, some response times for our responders, and as well as some massing studies in terms of sight lines for the building itself. We were also asked to look at public parking and the loss of public parking. And then just implementation, how we execute this project over time, who's going to be project managing this thing, and what involvement those individuals have or those groups will have relative to my role in running the airport. So there was a lot there. To be honest, some of it is frankly outside of the scope of the master plan and outside of the scope of the airport, really. So we're having to rope in some other department heads and get some other consultants involved. We were asked to come back in 2 months. I will try to make 2 months. I can tell you, looking at the number of issues they'd like us to address, we're looking at coming back in October, November timeframe. So that's where we stand with the master plan right now. Are there any questions about that?
Don't we have a public session scheduled?
We do for June 4th, and we're going to continue with that.
So we're gonna move forward with that?
We are moving forward with that.
Will that include some of the constituents you talked about?
Yes.
Any questions on the capital projects?
One other thing on the capital project list, a little bit more of a good news, actually. So InterVistas has, they're nearly complete or substantially complete with the FIS feasibility study. And they provided the airport staff with a briefing on that last week. We would like to bring that to the commission on the next meeting so that they can brief you all on what they've determined. Newsflash, they've determined we can have an FIS and it is feasible, and there are some viable routes out there, a number to Latin America, actually. So we'll be bringing that back to the commission. They'll kind of give their synopsis on that, as well as next steps.
That's great. Questions on capital projects? Anyone from the public want to come?
Is there anyone on Zoom that wishes to make a public comment?
No public comment.
Let's move on to the executive director's report.
All right, a couple things there as well. So you may see in my written report, I want to talk about the second thing in that report, piece pole installation. I was contacted by MVets Post 66 a few weeks ago, and they were inquiring about installing a piece pole at the airport. Apparently, they've done this in other locations around the world. There's an image of it actually on the report. But the idea is to install a symbol that promotes peace across the world. It would be in memory of two veterans, Lou Stewart and Ken, I'm going to get this name wrong, Shiner Bowers. I did inform the gentleman who contacted me that we would take a look at it. We would try and identify some locations on the airport and then bring that to the operations committee for an installation. But I wanted to give the full commission a heads up about what that was about. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask those. And I'll put them back and try and answer them as best as I can. Questions?
Just an observation. So I'm all for this. There's nothing on it. We can move this and make a decision on this, and yet when it comes to other art installations, we have a different process. I'm just trying to acknowledge that this is, we can fast track this, but we can't fast track other art projects. I just wondering if there's a precedence here, or we look at this differently if with our new arts plan, we decide to become more aggressive. Just an example of what we can do.
It is. That's good. We'll try and clean that up.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the second thing that I really wanted to highlight, which is not in my written report, is earlier today, my team had a meeting with InterVistas about the strategic business plan. Context here, this was a kickoff meeting, so they were trying to get some data from us to formulate this plan. But they're being very, very aggressive about how they intend to proceed. They do expect to hit a December deadline for full development of the plan and a written report that we can send both to the commission and to the city council. I did discuss with Chair Corcoran the potential of having a strategic planning meeting in September. And InterVistas was all for it. In fact, they already had it plugged into their plan when they briefed us earlier today. So that's what we're going to shoot for some commission involvement. But just wanted you all to know that's moving along.
That's great. For those of you who are new, a couple years ago, we did a strategic planning session in September. And we went through all the issues, everybody had the same information, so everybody was up to speed and had the same information moving forward. And that would be the intent of doing this again in September. Make sure that across all these quickly in time to make sure we understand what we're doing, the priorities are, and everybody's on the same page. That's coming in September. Any other questions or comments on the executive board? I have one. Hold on a second. Just one comment on your meetings with Desert X. To build on the discussion that we already had, I think it would be fabulous. Yeah, Desert X location here at the airport or some sort of engagement with them. They've done a great job of building this brand, and so I just think keep it going and let us know when we can be helpful in that discussion. Wouldn't it be great to have one of the 15 different installations here? If that's possible. I don't know the scope of what you're talking about, but you know.
We talked about a mix of things in that meeting, and we were shooting around ideas. This is all in the executive director report, by the way, so I wasn't introducing it. But one of them was exactly what you're talking about to be one of the locations, but also incorporating Desert X in some way into future design of the facilities. And bringing in artists from other parts of the world who understand modernism, mid-century modernism, and incorporating that into the design process. So there's still more discussions to be had. We actually scheduled a follow-up meeting for another few weeks, but we'll work as we're on.
It's exciting potential partnership. Okay,
Real quick, I hate to go backwards. So who was Lou Stewart and Ken Schubauer? Was that someone who was supposed to know?
Those are veterans that they died in, I believe, the Iraqi War. And don't quote me on that. I'll have to go back and get the information.
Are they locals?
I don't believe they're local.
So it seems
I
like,
believe they're California residents, but I don't think they're local.
seems like a big honor for someone we don't really know.
Yeah, no, I can give you more information on that, but I did have that discussion. It was a few weeks ago. I just don't remember the exact details.
Apologize for going back.
I just have one other comment. On the reorganization, the full-time employees, I know we share the frustration that we have all of these deliverables that people are working. And I know that there's issues in terms of salary levels and whatever. I'd like in a future meeting, you know, maybe we wait till September to really look at, we have 49-ish headcount. And we're not filling these reports, and then I'm told we have to wait for the same structure, we have to wait for this amount of people. So I just think we need to become, as a commission, more aware around the situation with FTEs. What are the open jobs? Are the jobs structured correctly? Because I know that getting salaries to, getting people to take these jobs is an issue because of the salary levels. I think it's something we should start looking at because it seems like we just need more support for getting these headcount filled. And if the salary ranges are wrong, or you don't have enough people, or whatever the issue is, I'd like to just study that one. I don't know if that becomes a separate agenda item, but it's really, from what I'm hearing, it's holding us back from getting stuff. So I'd like to add that to the agenda and just look at where we are in terms of headcount, full-time employees, and what are the opportunities to get people in here. Can we do that?
I would add in some meetings, committee, collectivity. Social capital, helping them improve the human resources and situation, and how things are structured. We really have to talk to our councils.
You know.
I just want to say, I appreciate, I think the positive thoughts here are really good, but I also would assume that the city has a very structured way of recruiting, you know, certain HR rules and regulations that YSD probably can't impact. And I'm concerned about getting even more involved in the process, providing even more burden to the staff, the few staff that we have. I know it's a difficult market out there for recruiting people for job and positions, so I'm not sure I support getting more involved in the personnel.
We have a full-time HR person assigned to us now. Correct?
Correct. So HR specialist, she's only focused on recruiting new talent. So none of the other functions.
I was gonna ask about vacancies and stuff, but I think we're diving too much into the position of it, and if that discussion is gonna come back, and I think it does need to come back, whether we get more involved or not. I do agree with you to some extent, that I think, going into too many things outside of where, you know, the budgeting and planning goes. But I still think that, we're gonna have that discussion and be brought back.
And it could be from part of our strategic planning sessions, just bringing long-term staff. But we need more help. That's the issue. All right, now public comment?
Typically, we don't hear public comment on the executive report, but I think the purpose of the record, so it's okay to allow in this case.
Okay. I kind of echo the comments on I think the Peace Bowl is a good idea, but I wouldn't forget the 22 Gold Star families that are in the Coachella Valley. That's not part of this project, but in those names is Kaufman, which is a very major Palm Springs name, is one of the Gold Star families. And Hunter Lopez was killed at Abbey Gate. I'm wearing his bracelet. I knew Hunter was killed at Abbey Gate a few years ago. And so the only request I would have is don't forget those kids, because those are actually local. And many of them were killed fairly recently. Lost their lives, you know, in the service of our country. We can help you with that, obviously, if you see them can, but that's my only comment. Thank you.
That's helpful. Thank you. All right, commissioner requests and reports. Anything else from the commissioners? City council actions are included in the packet, along with the airline activity reports. Any updates on future committee meetings? Any dates, marketing, noise, operations? We're good. Barry, anything on any others? Nothing. All right. We propose our next meeting is on the 19th. Is that still work?
No, I thought that was July, but Kevin.
Yes. I'm sorry, it's 18th?
It's June, yeah, it's June 18th, it's a Juneteenth on that Wednesday, so it'll be one day earlier.
Okay, good. Is that where everybody good? Okay, same spot, same here.
Were we looking at changing the July meeting though?
Any other comments, questions? You good?
Never mind.
All right, want to thank you, Tammy, for your help.
Yeah.
Welcome back here. Thank you, staff, for your great work. Thank you, commissioners, for all the time. Thank you, Tom.
Anybody needs any parking validated? There you go. Thank you.
I just actually brought the.
Tanya, stop the meeting. Tanya, stop the meeting.